Right now on Denver 7 News at 6, new body camera video shows the split-second decision that left 6 innocent people hurt by Denver police gunfire. This morning, we have team coverage.
I'm Denver 7's Christian Lopez, live with a preview of what we'll hear from some of those victims today.
And what does a grand jury investigation mean? I'm attorney and Denver 7 reporter Jessica Crawford, breaking down why the prosecutor called for a special step in this investigation.
Plus, how much did your kids fall behind during the pandemic? This morning, we'll get a snapshot of learning loss and some early indications suggesting we have work to do.
It's the game that everyone kind of played when they were a kid, kind of put into a box that's now put on ESPN.
One Denver sports team is now on the world stage for a game of tag. Like major parkour there.
I kind of want to say kids don't try this at home because that looks like
that's
broken arms.
I know, yeah. I mean,
but it also looks like a lot of fun.
The Ocho sports, right? Yeah, the air hockey and dodgeball
ESPN
and
Ocho.
tag, that's right.
On the Ocho tonight.
Well, Tag, you're it. Lisa, go.
My turn. Lisa goes. Yeah, tag was not one of my favorites. Pillow fights, not one of my favorites. Yeah. Now it's just about 6 o'clock. Hey, it's better get outdoors weather though for your kids this afternoon as they get back from school. We're going to see some drier conditions, more sunshine. We do have some areas of patchy fog this morning, and you can kind of see from this shot there in Westminster where off into the distance it's a little foggy. Upper 50s right now. Your exercise forecast is going to be a little warmer this afternoon and obviously drier. We're seeing still a few light rain showers across parts of southeastern Colorado, but Denver drying out. We're going to be in the mid to upper 70s by lunchtime and then hitting highs right around 80 to about 85. So a warmer day. Sunshine returns to Colorado. It's going to be a beautiful afternoon. We'll see more 70s and 60s in the mountains. Coming up tomorrow, pretty toasty and dry, but then we're tracking more wet weather. Jason, I'll show you when it's going to get cool again and wet here in just a few minutes.
And you just talked about the fog. It is very thick up to the north. This is I-25 up just on the north side of Fort Collins where the cars just disappear into the very thick fog. It's not only up there to the northeast, and it's also here in Metro Denver from Air Tracker 7 over about 120th or so. This is a community center bridge, so basically 112th up to 120th. Before 104th, you can see that fog, and it's moving south, limiting the visibility for us here this morning. Hey, there's the skids. That's the little, the resting part, the skids for the helicopter. All right, take a look at the drive we have out to the east side of town. We have one problem on the northbound side, right there after Colfax. Take a look from the camera there, and you can see that the crash is way over to the side now, but we still have some traffic delay. Oh, there goes the fire truck to go help out some other people. So we'll have that right lane blocked, and the drive time right now is running at about 15 minutes.
Well, today we will hear from some of the people injured when police confronted a man with a gun in a Lodo crowd and opened fire. 6
innocent bystanders were hurt during that incident last month.
DPD released new body camera video and details from that night, and we have team coverage for you this morning. Denver 7's Christian Lopez is hearing from an attorney of some of the victims about what he sees in that video.
Also, attorney and Denver 7 reporter Jessica Crawford is going in depth on what it means to convene a grand jury and why that's so significant in this case.
First, though, I want to take a closer look at the video from that night, starting from up high. This is video from a surveillance camera at 20th and Larimer just after 1:30 in the morning back on Sunday, July 17th, and you can see the bars letting out.
Cameras show the suspect Jordan Waddy getting into a fist fight, which prompts police to move in. And then seconds later, Waddy starts looking to get away from officers. That's when the situation escalates to police eventually open fire.
So we want to add some context here, slow it down a little bit. 3 days after the shooting, police told us when confronted by police, Waddy ignored the verbal orders and walked through the crowd.
But as you can see here, as we slow down the video, when Jordan Waddy got between the two cars and the officer approaches, Waddy appears to grab his gun by the barrel and then throws it away and puts his hands up.
Watch it in slow motion here. Right before the shooting, the suspect appears to tug on his gun 2 to 3 times before he eventually tosses it right there. We timed this critical moment from the instant the gun leaves the suspect's hand to the officer when he fires his weapon. 5 frames of video elapsed. That is a sixth of a second.
Split-second decisions here. So what's next? Today, we are going to hear firsthand from a few of those innocent bystanders hurt that night.
First, though, Denver 7's Christian Lopez joins us live near the scene in Lodo. And Christian, an attorney representing some of the victims who were hit in the crossfire, calls what happened that night reckless.
Yeah, he did, and we will be talking to 3 of the 6 victims today at around 2 p.m. So you'll be able to hear about this in their own words on Denver 7 News at 4. And we talked to that attorney last night. He says, and as you can probably imagine, the victims are still pretty shaken up about the whole thing. They suffered various injuries, including a man who had a bullet lodged in his arm, and we have his x-ray photos. He had to have surgery to get that removed. Another victim also had a bullet go through her arm, and the third was hit in the foot. The attorney we talked to, his name is Chris Whitney. He said after seeing that footage, he's surprised the injuries were not a lot worse.
We saw Denver officers firing live rounds into a crowd. And it's very fortunate. It's actually incredible that only 6 individuals were injured. Because you think about it, firing into a crowd where there's a good 60, 70 people, maybe even more, you know, it's very fortunate no one had died.
We're also hearing from the attorney who is representing the suspect, Jordan Waddy. He said his perspective is that this was an overreaction and told us that body camera video shows his client was surrendering. Now, he acknowledges that police have to make split-second decisions in situations like this, but he said the way he sees it at that point, Waddy was not threatening or attempting to hurt anyone.
You see he's obviously thrown the gun. It's gone. It's like out of the frame. His hands are up. To me, that's not a split-second decision, you know? And, you know, they didn't just shoot him once. This isn't just split-second decision, one shot. No, they fired on him 6 or 7 times, and they fired into 2 different crowds while they were doing it. It's reckless, it's inexcusable, it's excessive. They need to be held accountable.
This is all just the very beginning of what will likely be a very lengthy investigation into whether or not police officers responded lawfully. And the Denver Police Department says that the 3 officers who were involved in this, they are on modified duty at the moment. We are live in Denver this morning. I'm Christian Lopez, Denver 7.
You can certainly understand why there's so much attention on this exchange. Thank you, Christian. And it's the first time Denver District Attorney Beth McCann has convened a grand jury to investigate a police shooting.
I sat down with McCann last month, about a week after that shooting, and she talked about how rare it is for grand juries to investigate officer-involved shootings in any jurisdiction in Colorado. She explained how a new law will help add transparency to this investigation.
When a grand jury does consider whether to file a criminal case against a police officer, if they choose not to, that's generally the end of the story. Everything is secret, and so I actually requested the sponsors of that bill in 2020 to include a provision that would require the grand jury to write a report and publish it if they do not indict a police officer.
McCann issued a statement yesterday saying for the community to trust in the outcome from this incident, it is important that independent members of the community review the facts, evidence, and law regarding whether these officers should be criminally charged.
Well, Denver 7's Jessica Crawford joins us as an attorney as well. Jessica, explain the process of assembling a grand jury and why it's so important.
Well, especially in this case, it's very important. A grand jury proceeding is all about Denver County citizens deciding whether a suspect should be charged with a crime. In this case, whether officers should be charged with a crime in that shooting. A grand jury is usually made up of 12 people. They'll hear only from the prosecutor. They do not hear from the defense. The prosecutor presents evidence of the crime, which in this case could be video of the shooting or maybe shell casings. The grand jurors could also hear from witnesses. Then they'll discuss whether there is enough evidence to indict the suspect. But here's the thing, only 9 of the grand jurors have to agree on whether or not to charge that suspect for there to be a decision. If the grand jury chooses to charge a suspect, that's an indictment. If they don't, that's called a no bill, and that means the suspect won't go to trial on the charges. Even calling for a grand jury signals the kind of possible charges here because they're only used for felony cases. For other potential crimes, prosecutors can bring the charges themselves. So certainly shooting by bystanders could constitute a felony, but perhaps more importantly, using a grand jury here allows the public to play a role in something that is so important, which is how public servants are allowed to treat us and what should happen when people get hurt.
Yeah, as McCann pointed out, community involvement there.
That's right.
Well, thank you, Jessica. Fascinating insight there. If you want to see the full body camera video, we have it right now on the denverchannel.com. You can also get the latest on the free Denver 7 Plus app. Let's get over to Lisa now with some sunshine returning today.
Which means we're going to again see, unfortunately, some bright but beautiful weather out there, which means hat, sunglasses, sunscreen for your kids if they're heading off to school. We've had 2 pretty cloudy days, but that UV index back to a 9. Now, we're going to hit highs this afternoon in the 80s, closer to 90 tomorrow. I'll have your full super 7-day forecast and what to expect for the weekend coming up.
We have 2 Aurora problems, one a crash at Hamden and Tower. The other one is this, the northbound side of I-225 with a crash in the right lane here after 17th. So it is very slow through this area from coming up from Colfax. So an extra 5 to 8 minutes just trying to get up to I-70 coming in from Mississippi and Alameda.
Well, parents, we know taking care of kids comes with challenges and some stressful times, but there is a new form of support coming to the Metro. Take a look at this. When and where this new parent lounge will open for families to create community. Plus.
But now the real work begins.
Wyoming Representative Liz Cheney is down but not out, what she called the next phase of her political career after losing to her Trump-backed opponent last night.